Well, good morning, everybody. It's December 9th, 2024, in the beautiful desert outside Quartzsite, Arizona, boondocking with Dottie. And the weather first. Now, this is amazing. It's 43 degrees here in camp, and the weather.com says it's 41 in Quartzsite. That's the closest it's ever been to the actual temperature out here, only 2 degrees. The other day, it was like 12, 14 degrees off. It was amazing. But we're in agreement today, and we have something exciting happening in the weather. A front is coming through, and it's going to come through around 1 p.m., where wind speeds shoot up to 11 and up to 16 with there were warnings of gusts up to 50 miles an hour. So that's what happens when a front blows in here, and the winds get the gusts get pretty bad, and you got to prepare for them. They'll take your chairs and blow them away, and just got to batten down the hatches, which I did yesterday, and I'm prepared. So that's gonna go through let's see, Tuesday. It'll go through Tuesday, and then the winds calm back down. In the forecast for the next week, we're going to dip down. We're going to be high of 70 today, but it's going to dip down to 63 Tuesday, 62 Wednesday, then back up to 70 on Thursday and Friday, and we'll be back kind of to normal in the about 70 degrees average over the next 10 days, and either slight cloudiness or completely clear. That is the forecast with mild winds. So that is your weather report for the day in Quartzsite conditions. Let's get to the comments, shall we? First one is from Virginia Hankey. Dottie doesn't sleep with George? ? Well, yeah, Dottie. See, here's how it works. Where Dottie is now, that's the bed, and it's a little too high for Dottie. So at night, after she has her dinner and she wants to settle down, I put her up on the bed, and when I go to bed, she goes in that far corner there and kind of curls in a ball and goes to sleep. That's where my feet go. And after a while, George, sometime during the night, will hop up there and just lay next to my leg on the outside of the bed, like right here. So yeah, they sleep together. Ellen King says, I've heard so much about water quality at the LTVA. This is very reassuring to me that I can use the water in my little camper system, perhaps drink the bottled water. And just let me clarify, all I found was high sodium, and that was a shock to no one because they advertise non-salt reverse osmosis water in town you can buy, and there's a reason they do that. And salt in the water is generally not harmful unless, here's my opinion, if you have hypertension and you are sensitive to, your blood pressure is sensitive to salt intake, then treat the water like you do potato chips. That's all I'm saying. Somebody just had this nasty comment, says you're just so wrong and you're misinforming people. Salt doesn't cause high blood pressure. I never said that. I never said it caused high blood pressure. And I was explaining why with some people with existing blood pressure, it increases the blood pressure because it increases you retain water when you have salt. That's not opinion, that's science. It's the body wants to flush that salt out, and it needs water to do that, so it keeps water in to dilute it, then it flushes it out of your system. But in the meantime, you have more pressure in the pipes, which means a higher blood pressure. And if you don't have hypertension, that's probably not it probably doesn't matter. So just for clarification, there's nothing harmful about the salt in the water. They're just, it's like Lay's potato chips. And I don't mean to pick on Lay's, if you're listening. I'm not picking on you. Anything salty. Like just about everything packaged, I find. So always Soho, S-O-J-O, I guess that's how you pronounce it. Thank you for taking the time to do this and post your results. This is helpful to anybody that takes their water for granted. Having said that, I never draw water from any faucet without using my inline filter, just saying. Well, just to clarify that too, your inline filter will not reduce the salt. reverse osmosis, which is a pretty complex process, and you can get reverse osmosis for your camper. It takes a lot of space and it's fairly expensive. But your inline filter won't take care of that salt. And as far as the other minerals in it, they're all well within normal. There's nothing and there's nothing toxic in there at all. It's good water. Philip King says, I live in Arizona. I travel around the U.S. The water quality around the country is contaminated. All right, so I'm not going to read this whole thing. This guy was saying it's contaminated. You're camping near the Salt River. And I'm like, we're not anywhere near the Salt River. That's in another part of Arizona. And this person is a little confused about where we are. And we went back and forth. And he just says, my bad. The Salt River does, in fact, run through the Gia Reservoir and back into the Colorado. But then he's sort of rationalizing, saying, well, that bad water gets here, too. And so I just gave him a link for, if you want to dig into these comments, I give him a link for a government page on Arizona water and where the water comes from in this area in particular, for a little education. John Bell, hi Rob, we enjoy your channel every day. You pretty much cover everything there in Quartzsite. One thing we've seen no mention of is the incidence of valley fever. Any ideas? And I none. I've just heard rumors about it. Valley fever, pets, dogs, and people are susceptible to that. And I really can't speak intelligently about it. I'm sure there are resources online that can. That's just not me. Controller 2152, great video and thanks for the research. Great info. Life happens. Sorry, the $1,200 for the mountain cabin was for 8 days. He was talking about a mountain cabin and he was saying $1,200. I'm like, was that a month or what? It was for 2 weeks, for 8 days. Had a hot tub, so I wasn't roughing it too much, but the isolation, calm in the woods, mountain made me question my life's choices up to that point. So that was just someone saying, hey, what sort of a catalyst for steering me there was getting away from home and sort of getting out into nature, renting a cabin and going, hey, this life might be for me. Just not at $1,200 for 8 days. Crazy Lady. Her name is Crazy Lady. And I've met you, I think. I'm kidding. As a kid in the 60s, I lived in Calexico, El Centro, and Yuma area. We always bought our own drinking water. There's a great salt lake in the area, so much fields and farming. Where my base camp is, my well water comes from Ogala Aquifer, and I'm spoiled. I start my trips with hauling a lot of water with me. And this state comes around, tests the wells every few years, but mostly for nitrates. When in the desert, I spent my quarters I've set aside. Thanks for sharing your findings. The other thing I wanted to mention, someone, I don't know if it's in here or not, was talking about chlorine and, thank goodness wells don't have chlorine. There's no chlorine. That's not true. The BLM treats this water with chlorine. And straight from the horse's mouth from the BLM, they said they test the water every single day specifically to monitor the chlorine that they put in to make sure it's in the right range. You don't want too much or too little chlorine, so they test it every single day. And chlorine, there's so much crap on the internet. There really is. Chlorine has arguably scientifically done as much for humanity, chlorine in drinking water, as vaccines have done, for things like polio and don't get started on the COVID vaccine. You're just going to get deleted if you rant about the COVID vaccine. It's not on this channel. It's not going to happen. So for this discussion, we're talking about the successful vaccines that any thinking person will realize are a boon to humanity and saved countless lives. And there's the argument that chlorine treatment and water treatment plants throughout the world has saved equally countless lives. So Life Happens says, as far as camping near another camper you don't know, do more than the 15-foot minimum, keep things from being uncomfortable. Example is, I've been camping here for a week now. Guy across the dirt road near the paved road had a bus-size RV pull up to what looked like maybe 15 feet. That guy's in a little pickup truck with a truck bed camper. If that RV stayed today, if I were the truck guy, I'd have to move. For me, it just looks uncomfortably close, though it's, quote, legal. I'm not sure why a full-size RV would set up camp within the vault toilet range unless their toilet system is down, of course, or maybe he knows the guy with the camper. Maybe they're camping together. You don't know. Let's see. Quartzsite testing the water. Pump camper. My buddy Cheryl has a heart. She liked that video. On the positive news story, she found him. Dementia, happy endings, where a woman lost her husband. He wandered off and he was gone for days, and she saw a newscast of a camera sweeping across like people in a community center eating, and she saw him and she found him and she brought him home. And Ken Gray says warm and fuzzies to that one. More on the drinking water. This was a very successful video. It got a few thousand views. Q881 says, I'm wondering if a zero water filter would take the salt out of the water and render it safe. Let's see. I said reverse osmosis system do remove salt. Other methods do not. There may be exceptions. So that's just it. I think I've mentioned that before. Hi, Rob. If you get to the LV after hours, and this is Doug4223. If you get to the LTVA after hours, can you still get your $180 permit when entering? Thanks for the videos, especially the daily updates, and love your little Dottie. Thanks. This is very frequent that people come in and it's closed and you can't get your permit. They're totally accommodating. You're used to that. It took me 2 days this year to get my permit. So you just park, set up camp, and the next opportunity you get when the office is open, you go there. And there are 4 offices, one for each one of the 4 LTVAs. They all look exactly the same buildings by the side of 95. You can't miss them. It's not a big deal. Not a big deal. Good question, though. Mr. Arashan, good to know I don't drink the water from there, but I did notice there's a mineralization around my faucets. Since it's included in the permit price, it's worth using. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, okay, but I'm gonna guess that's the salt building up. And is that good for your plumbing? I'd say probably not, but there are people that use it year after year after year, and they don't go around saying, "Oh my gosh, my plumbing's falling apart because of the LTVA water." So, not an expert on that. Ken Gray seems to work for me. Last year I had mice in my garage during the cold months until I put the peppermint in. This year I put the peppermint in. Now my neighbor has mice and I do not. And yes, this is subjective evidence. Naj says the retirement place in Florida is called Century Village. And I think the villages in general, I was sort of trying to come up with that name when I was talking about retiring in Florida. My friend's mom lived there and she loved the place. Gray Wolf Travels, great review on water, something we don't think about. Thanks, Gray Wolf. Ken, lots of retirement communities in Florida, but you may have meant the villages. Yeah, that's what I meant. The water video, Rich DV, thanks Rob. I've been waiting for your results. So does the fact that the water has high saline content mean it will be nice and soft on the skin when showering? Eskimos, where we come from, the water is extremely hard. We have a water softening to soften the water. Those are two different things, salt content and hardness. And my testing also measured hardness, and it comes on the soft side of soft. So it's soft water. It's not hard water. Quartzsite Comments, Naj Turds, LMAO, that's laughing my blank off. That would have brought me back to my childhood in north central Florida. I laughed for quite a bit of time, so refreshing. Thanks for the memories. Dean Grabowski says, I get nosebleeds occasionally from being dry. Found that if I take a Q-tip and smear a little Vicks Vapor Rub inside my nose overnight, when I sense it getting dry, it's generally reduced my nosebleeds. It's worth trying. Thank you, Dean. Renee Slater, when we stayed at Imperial Dam, we bought the unsalted water for drinking. We still put it through the Berkey. As far as your nosebleeds, use vitamin E in your nose every day. For some reason, you keep seeing me do this because I'm having here we go. How about something less disgusting to do? I have a cloth. I'm getting a little moisture there. So that's the opposite of the problem. And the humidity inside's only 15%, but it's 10% outside and it's 15% inside. Why? Because I use a ventless propane heater, and that produces moisture. So it raises the indoor humidity from the ambient 10% to 15%. That's like a 50% increase in a way. But it's still low enough so, like, I don't get moisture on the inside on the windows or anything. Moisture is not a problem. Because a lot of people go, oh, you're crazy. You're using propane heat and it produces moisture. You'll get mold. You'll ruin your RV. And they just don't account for the ambient outside humidity being a factor, because there's plenty of room in the atmosphere to absorb the moisture that's produced by the heater. On the other hand, when I had my trailer in Northern Virginia in the winter, I would wake up in the morning and there would be water dripping down the inside of all my windows. And I would have to open a vent and heavily ventilate to get the moisture out so it didn't do damage, because that was already a fairly high humidity environment. So that's the way it works, guys. It is, people will quote the science to me, X, amount of water is generated per gallon or pound of propane burned. Yeah, I get it. That's a mathematical formula that doesn't vary. It's true. But what they don't account for is the atmosphere is capable of absorbing that moisture. And when the atmosphere is not capable of doing that, then you get condensation, right? And condensation can do damage in your RV. But if there's enough so condensation does not happen, like in the desert, you're good. So on Naj says on the dementia man that was found by his wife, I could not imagine how she felt all the time he was missing. It must have been horrible. Thank God nothing bad happened to him and they were able to reunite. Yeah. Ones at large, deleting my mess of a comment. Suffice to say, folks do not need that expensive purification system that several big account channels have advocated. Well, we were fairly panicked about it needlessly. Okay, so what happened here is this Lunds at large was reacting to my my water testing thing, and what it triggered in him was they had the experience where all these YouTubers were advocating these complex water filter systems that, here's, if you don't know, here's how it works. Once you get views, any kind of substantial views, you get emails from companies going, hey, we would like to be a partner with you, and we will send you one of our widgets if you promise to do a review on the widget. And I did that a little bit in the beginning, and I stopped doing it. Um, None of them said to me, "You have to do a good review," or "We need to vet your review." But you do feel someone gives you something for free. You you look for, it's human nature. You look for the good in it, and you might overlook the bad. All right, and so some YouTubers got expensive water filtration systems, and they probably worked great. But what they don't address is, do you really need this? If you open the video with saying, here's a great water filter system that you don't really need, it's not going to work. And no one's going to feel good about it, except for you and me. And they're going to go, okay, I'm not going to spend that money, which is not the point of the partnership and the promotion. So what this person is saying, their personal experience was those videos panicked them into, God, we should buy a filter because all this water all over the country is terrible. And they found in the research that, it's really not that bad. There are areas, that there are water sources that become contaminated for one reason or another. Even like that big Michigan story years ago, that was horrible. But those are the exceptions. So here's what happened. He opens this comment with just so full of misinformation. And to anyone reading it, it sounded like he was talking about my video, that I was, my video was full of misinformation. So I politely addressed it, and we kind of went back and forth. And then he was trying to say to me, I wasn't talking about you. I think your video was great. I was talking about other promoters of these expensive water filter systems. And he said, he finally just deleted the whole thing because he realized it was just full of a very common thing on the internet, misunderstanding. So that's what he's let's see. Big drink tea. Distilled water changed my life. Now I only use distilled water for everything: drinking, steaming, showering, laundry, always distilled water. Yeah, there's a bunch of sort of like armchair doctors responding to that one. Some saying if you drink distilled water, you don't get the minerals, and then someone even says it actually leaches the minerals out of your body and destroys your health. Let the guy drink distilled water if he wants to drink distilled water. And please don't start commenting on distilled water, drinking distilled water. I don't drink it. I don't happen to. I use distilled water in my humidifier because that's what the directions on the humidifier say. Use distilled water because there are no minerals in it, so the minerals won't gunk up that process inside the humidifier. It's not because there's any health hazard. There's a hazard to the mechanism that atomizes the water and puts it in the air. So use distilled water, it says. Okay. Quartzsite Comments. Ugh, the wind and sand getting in the window tracks, but it's still awesome out there. Guys in Pennsylvania let their beards grow out for hunting season. We'll miss it out there this year. That's for Renee Slater. And if you're thinking about coming out here and you are really into cleanliness, you're probably not going to have a good time here. I hate to say something potentially negative about this. I'd love it so much here. But if you're staying in the desert in your RV, dust and wind, and you're not going to be running an AC, so you're going to have the windows open a lot. And the screens aren't going to stop. Everything is constantly, well, it's not literally covered with dust, but there's really, dust gets everywhere. They're right, the window tracks and everything. So if that doesn't bother me in the least, but if it really bothers you, you might want to think twice about it. Not twice about what you're thinking, twice about spending a lot of time out here, because it might drive you crazy. Adopted Another pet, and Toddy's not happy. That's my little joke short, and someone just did a laughing thing. Canadian Jazz, not only are you a handsome man, but you're a decent human being. Thank you for portraying that every day. I hope one day I'll get to meet you in person. Canadian Jazz, wow. Thank you. Let's see. Let's see who's next. But Jazz, thank you. What a compliment. Thank you. Um, and obviously, decent human being means more than handsome. But handsome is a nice compliment. Tommy, 600K get you an average, just above average house in Massachusetts these days. It's hard to wrap my head around. I was first adult in the working world. I think my first place I bought was a condo. I think it was 110 to 120. I don't remember. My first house was, I think, 115. Big, beautiful house. Boy, things. Then my last house, and this was many years ago, was in Round Rock, Texas. It was a huge house on a golf course, and I think it was just under 300,000. And I thought that was friggin' mind blowing. I can't imagine what it goes for, 20 years later. Rick says the water there always left me more thirsty than before I drank it. You think? That's the salt. Morning Dove Camp, thanks for the info. I just looked up and found out the Brita filter does not remove sodium. Appreciate the info. That's right, it doesn't. Reverse osmosis does. Rob, thanks for sharing. Hanford City water has salt level. We buy bottled drinking water. Gene, that was Slim Pickens. I keep forgetting to read names. What's wrong with me today? Gene, on mice, I moved into a vacant house, infested cabin. Peppermint oil on cotton balls kept them out of the drawers and cabinets, but I had to refresh the oil every few weeks. That worked for small, specific, enclosed areas. There was still a constant inflow of mice through the various exterior holes. The cat got most of them, but when he got too old to keep up, I set up traps with peanut butter. There's no set it and forget it solution. I've always suspected that. It takes work. Thank you for your wonderful videos. And thank you for that. I've gone on and on about... and I said, thank you, very intelligent, well-presented comment. Thank you. And I'll thank you again for that. I've always, I worry about the wiring in my truck because in New Mexico in the mountains this past summer, I had rodents chew through wire, and it almost cost me a lot of money. I got really lucky. It only cost me like just under $300 to have it repaired. It could have been much worse. So since then, I've been doing as much research as I can on various methods to keep rodents out of the engine compartment. I've never had it in the trouble in the RV. Knock on, there's got to be wood somewhere. Right there. There's wood. Knocking on wood. I wonder where that comes from. Knock on wood. That's interesting where that saying comes from. Anyway, and I've been unsuccessful in finding what she says a set it and forget it solution. Like, people say, dude, this is the classic one, is you take Irish Spring bar soap and shave it and sprinkle it around. And rodents hate Irish Spring soap. Peppermint, essence of peppermint oil. There's all sorts of others. There's ultrasonic. There's people put lights underneath their truck. And it goes on and on and on. But if you look for a definitive solution, it's really hard to find. And she's saying, you know what? I don't think there is one. Other than, she took it was a lot of work. The peppermint worked in enclosed spaces. She changed that out. She set traps. When that's working, right? There's no doubt that if you set in traps and you're catching mice, that's working. To some degree, it's definitely working. If you put out peppermint under my hood and I have no mice out here in Quartzsite, which I haven't had I haven't had mice or any problems for 4 years out here. So if I get fearful of it now when I put peppermint in my compartment, and at the end of the season there's no mouse damage. Does it make any sense to say the peppermint worked? No, no, it doesn't. Makes no sense. Mario Fuentes, Rob, you and Dottie are a fountain of information about Quartzsite and a loving heart to share that information with others. And thank you. It'd be interesting to put water through a Berkey or other filter and then test it. So I'm going to back up for a second to that comment. Mario comments a lot, and several other people comment, and they put sort of a religious tag on it. And I've been reading it, and I've decided maybe it wouldn't be a great idea to read religious tags because, you know, not everybody is that faith. People have other faiths, and I don't know. Does it hurt to say, may Lord Jesus Christ continue to bless you and Dottie and your viewers? No, what the heck? That doesn't hurt anything. Boy, sometimes it's so easy to overreact in this era of political correctness. So, Mario, may the Lord Jesus Christ continue to bless you and Dottie and your viewers. Mario's not asking you to believe anything. He's wishing you well. Right? Comments that try to get people to believe what they believe and suggest that what you believe isn't right, those won't be read, but Mario, that's fine. So you just saw the process of thinking about the channel and what's good for the channel and what isn't good for the channel. And you saw me go, I didn't read that. I decided not to read that. And then I thought it through logically and decided, you know what? That's silly. I'm going to read it. That's kind of the process I go through. Random Spirit, it'd be interesting to put that water through a Berkey or other filter and then test it. And I said, well, since the only thing wrong with the water, quote, wrong is subjective, is high sodium, the Berkey filter won't take the sodium out. And I don't have a Berkey filter. I haven't tested that. So I could be wrong. So if I am wrong, and you know I'm wrong, tell me. Angel Ann, good afternoon, Rob. A big hug to the fur babies. I'm enjoying you this beautiful day here in North Carolina. It is finally with weather that's not cold. Perfect for us here. I sure know it's beautiful there. I wanted to let you know Rusty is out there somewhere. I sure hope you get to meet him. He and you might do a video. He's very interesting to us rangers, as you are also. Enjoy your day with fur babies and friends. Tell them hello from Rob's friends in North Carolina, Angela and Angel. And she has several more comments. I also want her to compliment how handsome you are with another handsome comment. With the beard and mustache, I think you should keep it and do the short face line. I have no idea what that last part means. If anyone knows what the short face line is, let me know. I have no idea what that means. Rob Hemming, I'm so sorry. I always write a book when I comment. Just know I have to talk. All I have to talk with is my friends on YouTube. If they are too long, you may skip reading mine on the comment column. I'm not going to skip yours. Not going to do it. Just please read them. I do misspell words. Please forgive me. For any mishaps in typing comments, I do have a brain injury. Now, you know, Angela, if you have a brain injury, Angel Ann, if you have a brain injury, I would ask, do you watch my close friend, Deborah Dickinson, has a YouTube channel, and she has a traumatic brain injury, which has serious permanent consequences, and she talks about that quite a bit on her channel and how she adapts and copes and overcomes. I think if you're not already, you might have found me through her, for all I know. But if you don't, check out her channel, Deborah Dickinson, or author Deborah Dickinson. She's also a prolific author of wonderful fiction and nonfiction books. I think that we're up to 12 or 14 books at this point. And you can find those on Amazon and also Audible. She has Audible books. And she's in a lot. She's in my video I'm releasing today. She's in it. She's in it with Frugal RV Gal, her partner in crime and travel companion. Let's see. Due to negative in my life, now I am trying to be positive, which means I've always been someone who enjoys making others smile by complimenting people, by being complimentary to people. Angela. So Angela, check out Deborah. Doug, hi Rob, I have another question for you. I'm going down there for the first time. I have a Class C pulling a trailer that has an ATV and a small street legal moped. Do I have to have stickers on each one to operate these, including the trailer on the LTVA? How many do they issue when purchasing the permit? And I said, I have a truck and a trailer and they give me two. With these other things, the ATV and I don't know. And I just said, ask when you get there. Just ask when you get there. And I haven't even noticed if people have stickers on their ATVs or UTV, their side-by-sides or ATVs. No idea. I can't imagine they make you buy more than one permit. No one would tolerate that. John Montalbano, I enjoy seeing Dottie resting on the bed. There she is. Kathy Stevens, thank you so much. And she's thanking me for the water testing. In that, we have Quartzsite LTVA camps open to everyone. That's a video that did really well. Did a few thousand. Do most of the regulars arrive early in the season? Does it create a conflict to park in an unoccupied spot if someone feels they have staked that claim and they show up later? You can't stake claims. No, I think it would be exceedingly rare for someone to say, I had that spot, you're in my spot, because virtually no one here would support that point of view at all, especially the BLM officials. You can't do that. You do find plenty of places that seem it's a campsite marked off with rocks. It's open. You like it? Take it. Take it. Jane Whitmore found some information regarding rats and mice. It's called Bug MD Vamoose. They're pouches with citronella, corning, and linseed oil. You put them in your house, shed, car, RV, and more. They can be purchased online. Watch most of your videos that have great info. I hope this helps you. Give Dottie a hug. Don't know about that product. It's worth looking into. PTJ Jimmy. I'll just call him Jimmy. Rob, you're so right. These bold, fat, your mama jokes are so over with it. Rob, I'm bold, I'm fat, and I don't go near my mama jokes. But what not great sayings like, "How's your LDL? How's your BP? How's your mental health today?" These are things I like to hear. Rob never liked Don Rickles or his jokes. And he's talking about deprecating others for humor, which is, I call it hostile humor, and glad you agree. And my buddy Tim isn't here this year. He's here, but he's in Roadrunner with some friends. Thanks for taking the time to do the test, Rob, and reporting it. I will have to order one of those test kits just to see how my well water filtration system does in my motorhome. Nice job. Thank you, Tim. It's high praise coming from him. He's got pretty high standard for fact checking and making sure you're saying something that you have backup for. And his favorite phrase is "do your research." Borendell 9915. Thank you for putting in the time for that study. You're a good nomad citizen. Someone pointed out pretty rudely, so it's not here, the comment's not here, there was not anything of a scientific study and you didn't follow scientific guidelines. It wasn't a scientific study. It was a guy with a test strip. Give me a break. A guy with a camera and a test strip. That's all that was. And that's one of the reasons that I contacted the BLM before I produced the video. I explained what I was doing, what I was using to test with it, and the results I was getting so far. And I said, I want to know if you guys don't think that's right or object to it. All you need to do is say that, and I won't do the video, because they obviously have more sophisticated testing. So anyway. Hey, it's Randy. Hey, Randy. First, you look great. The beard and mustache. I really appreciate you making the video. Very helpful to everyone out there. Love to Dottie and George. And actually, hearts, what she means. Love to Dottie and George. John the Brew, I would never use tap water of any kind for atomized situation like humidifiers, CPAP devices, or any steam situations other than shower and cooking. Good advice, absolutely. Which I mentioned that these atomizing devices, I think, always call for, and I try to be careful using that word always, call for distilled water. For the reason that there are no minerals in distilled water at all, so it won't cause any kind of buildup. And Dottie Stanley says, hey, I'm a Dottie too. I have a 2006 Chrysler Town and Country. I hope on the road with sometime next year. Great to know the weather in Q. And Yellen. Okay, I can't pronounce this. Too many letters to spell it out. It starts Yellen, and there's AKOZOREZOV. It's taking longer to say the name than the comment. The comment says, nice, thanks. I'm sorry, that strikes me as funny. Jesse Head, awesome, great investigating, reporting, very helpful. Thank you. Terry, 3193. Hey, Rob, thanks for the very informative video. Water quality is important. I would use the LTVA water for the bathroom and showers, washing dishes. Regardless of where I'm staying, I use bottled water for drinking and cooking. By the way to go with hitting 7,000 subscribers. That's awesome. Congratulations. I'm exactly the same way. All my drinking water is bottled. I don't do much cooking with water, but if I do, I use the water out of my tank, which is salt-free water from town. So, and if I'm cooking with it, I'm boiling it anyway. And why would I be concerned of boiling water that I bought in town? I'm not concerned about the water I'm buying. I'm concerned about things that may build up and microbes and stuff that may build up inside my tank and plumbing. Which is, there's, you can do things with bleach, and then they make substances that you can put in your tank to flush your plumbing system out and kill bad stuff. And I do that about once a year. I probably should do it more often. I wonder if it's enough to regen a water softening over a week or two. I don't know. I know salt is used to process to soften water. It's probably why the water tests as so on the very, the softest on the scale. It's super soft, and that's maybe because of the salt. Any scientists out there that can explain the relationship between salt content and softness? They're two different measurements, but it doesn't mean one doesn't have something to do with the other. And now that he makes that comment, I had a water softener in Florida in my house there, and yeah, it took bags of salt. You had to keep replenishing the salt. Sea Doves, my buddy Sea Doves. Hopefully whatever you got for the heartburn works for you. I just love Cassandra Longband. They're all talented. What I'm taking for my heartburn works perfectly. I'm very satisfied with it. I'm not going to say what it is, because when I did before, all these people just piled on with all sorts of criticisms and advice, and my heartburn's gone. I'm happy. Oh man, I have a brand new cot with a cushion. It's never been used. 75 by 28. I'd like to give it to someone in need of one. I was wondering if you know anyone that'd like to have it. And I said, check out Carol's Closet. They may take it. They're at the food bank at 400 North Moon Mountain Road, and I haven't been in there. I need to go maybe do a video. I don't know if it's just clothing that they take, but they may take bigger things. And there's the Salvation Army here too. And if you happen to be here in January, the Rubber Champ Rendezvous happens in the week preceding the Big Tent. So I don't know the exact dates, but the Big Tent, I think, is the 20th or 21st. So that week before, they have a giveaway table for nomads. So they would take it for sure. But I don't know a particular person that needs that. On the water testing, Arm McNasty says, I suggest getting a Berkey countertop water filter system or an RO, that means reverse osmosis water filter system. Pre-filter your drinking water. Don't drink distilled water. Only use it in a humidifier. And it's like, okay, I don't drink distilled water, but uh, I don't do that. So there's not really completely necessary to tell me not to. Let's see. Dom the First. This guy is a hero. That's the extraordinary blood donations. The guy that has that special blood that is life-saving for mothers and babies with a certain condition. The guy's a hero. He and the rest of the 170 donors, thank God for generous people. And I believe that is it for today. Let's see. Angel Ann has a couple of more comments for today. We'll read those. Good morning, Robin, Fur Babies. I so enjoyed seeing all my friends together. Thank you so much for doing the video, and say hi to them all. Thank them for being on the video. Hope Deborah sells so many books. Hugs and love from Angel here in North Carolina. She just watched the video I released, Meet 5 YouTubers in Quartzsite, and they happen to be 5 YouTubers that she watches, so she was excited. Oh, you and the babies and friend enjoy your day. So she's pretty excited about that video. I hope you enjoy it too. It is called Meet 5 YouTubers in Quartzsite, and well, it's doing really well so far. It's beaten it. So here's the thing: when you're a YouTuber, when you put out a video, it keeps track, of course, of the views, and it ranks it up against your last 10 videos. So what you don't want to see is a video getting views and it says 10 of 10. That means it's the worst performing video so far in the last 10 days. And that's like, oh man, no one likes to see that. What do you want to see? You want to see 1 of 10. And this one right now, it's only 206 views so far. It's been on for less than an hour. 49 minutes, but it's by a good margin. It's number 1 of the past 10, and there's some big ones in the past 10, so that's pretty exciting. I like that. So anyway, that's today's video. Ooh, look at that, 40. It's gonna be like 40 over 47 minutes. Wow. So if you've made it this far and you've watched 47 minutes, you're awesome. You're awesome. Thank you so much. And I'm grateful for everyone that watches, whether you watch for just the first minute of my videos or the whole thing. I appreciate you all checking in with me and Dottie. So I'm gonna upload this. It'll be released in a little while. In the meantime, I'm gonna take the Dottie dog out for a walk, and it's gonna be breakfast time. Dottie, you ready for breakfast? You want to go for a walk? You want to go? Want to go for a walk? Not so much. She's still tired. I will see you tomorrow.